Welcome to my video on fraction, decimal, and percent conversions. So the first one we're going to look at is how to change a fraction to a decimal. So step one is to make it a friendly fraction. So look at the denominator and see if you can turn it into tenths, hundredths, or thousands, and then read it. So the first one, 3/5. Can I turn 5 into tenths? The answer is yes. We can multiply top and bottom by 2. So what you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 5 times 2 is 10. So this is 6 tenths. So how would I write the decimal? 0.6 or 0.6. Remember, this is just a placeholder. I can write it as just 0.6 or 0.6. And circle your answer. Okay, 3/20. Now I can't turn it into tenths because I've already passed that. Can I turn it into hundredths? Yes, I can multiply top and bottom by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 20 times 5 is 100. So we have 15 hundredths. How would I write that? Good, 0.15 or 0.15. 15 hundredths. Okay, 3 500ths. Can I turn that into thousands? The answer is yes. Multiply top and bottom by 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and 500 times 2 is 1,000. So 6 thousandths. Okay, when I have thousands, I have 3 numbers after the decimal. And I have to make it, say, 6,000. So I need 0, 0, 6. Okay, so those are friendly fractions. So what do we do when we don't have a friendly fraction? So let's look at the first one here. And I need to change that because that's not the one that's actually there. Hold on. We need to change this to 5/8. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we need to know what to do when it's not a friendly fraction. So we have 5/8. So now we have to do long division when we can't turn it into a friendly fraction. So, one of the sayings that we have that you're probably familiar with is the top number slides down, so the 5 slides down and the 8 climbs the ladder. So 5 slides down, 8 climbs the ladder. Okay, now, can 8 go into 5 evenly? No. So it goes in 0 times. 0 times 8 is 0. 5 minus 0? 5. Now, when I have nothing to bring down, I put a decimal after this number and I bring the decimal straight up. And what I like to do is I like to add 3 zeros. Usually if I add 3 zeros, I'm in good shape. Sometimes you might have to add more than that, but 3 to start with is always good. So bring down the 0. 8 goes into 50 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract. 50 minus 48 is 2. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. 20 minus 16 is 4. Bring down another 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. And when I have a remainder of 0 or something repeats, then I'm done. So it's 625 thousandths. Now when we get to comparing, okay, if something doesn't repeat or something doesn't end up with a remainder of 0, you can usually stop after after you get to the thousandths place. But we'll talk more about that when we get to comparing. So let's set up 1/6. So the top number slides down, the bottom number climbs the ladder. Okay, 6 goes into 1, 0 times. 0 times 6 is 0. And 1 minus 0 is 1. Once again, we have nothing to bring down, so decimal, decimal. Fill in 3 zeros and bring down. 6 goes into 10, 1 time. 1 times 6 is 6. 10 minus 6, 4. Bring down a 0. 6 goes into 40, 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 40 minus 36 is 4. Bring down a 0. 6 goes into 40, 6 times. So notice the 6 is going to start repeating over and over and over again. So I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to write 0.16. Now, since the 6 is repeating, I only need to write it one time and just put the bar over the 6. Okay, now let's learn how to change a decimal to a fraction. So we did fraction to decimal, now we're doing decimal to fraction. So it says read the number to yourself. So 3.54 would be read as 3 and 54 hundredths. And step 2 is simplify as you can. So let's practice 2 here. 7 and 8 tenths. So 7 and 8 tenths. Can 8 tenths be simplified? The answer is yes. I can divide top and bottom by what? 2. And so 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now, why is this not the correct answer? What did I forget to do? Good, I forgot to put the 7 in front. So if you forget the 7, then it's wrong. So 7 and 4/5. Okay, the next one, I have 3 numbers after the decimal, so I know I'm talking about thousandths. So it's 45 thousandths. Now, if I know a number ends in a 5 and a 0, I can always divide by 5. Sometimes I check to see if 25 goes into it, but I know 25 can't go into 45, so I'm going to go with 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 1,000 divided by 5 is 200, so I have 9 200ths. Okay, turn the page and we're going to look at decimal to percent and percent to decimal. Now, before we look at those, there's probably a trick that you learned maybe in 5th or 6th grade, and it's called Dr. Pepper. So write this up here where I am. So there's your D, P. And here's how it works. Okay, we start at the D, so if we want to change from a decimal to percent, we move 1, 2 places to the right. If we want to change from percent to decimal, we move 2 places to the left. So that's how you know which way to move. So look, if it's just a decimal, 2 to the right. If you see the percent sign, 2 to the left. Okay, now let's practice. So change a decimal to a percent, you move 2 places to the right because we are multiplying by 100. So look at the first example. Take the decimal and move it 1, 2 to the right. So what is that number? 5%. And notice when the decimal moves to the end, we don't write it. Okay, just like we did when we learned scientific notation. Okay, 8 tenths. 2 to the right, 1, 2. What can I drop here? A 0, so this is 80%. Okay, 2 whole, where is the decimal? Good, at the end, so 1, 2. What can I drop in here? 2 zeros, so it's 200%. And folks, if you're changing to a percent, you need the percent sign. If you forget it, then it is wrong. Okay, now watch what happens with 6 thousandths. We're going to move 2 to the right, 1, 2. So now it's between the 0 and the 6, so it's 0 and 0.6%. Or you could have left off the 0 and just write 0.6%. Okay, now the opposite of multiplication is division. So when you change a percent to a decimal, move the decimal 2 places to the left because we are dividing by 100. Because what's percent out of? Good, 100. Percent's out of 100. So if we take the percent and put it over 100, then we can divide that to get the decimal. Okay? So look at the first one, 5.2%. Find the decimal, and we're going to move 2 to the left. 1, 2. And drop in your 0. So we have 0.052 or 52 thousandths. And once again, I can put the placeholder here. Okay, 5%. Is there a decimal here? No, so we can start after the 5 and move it 1, 2 to the left. Drop in a 0. And we have 5 hundredths, and I can put the placeholder in front. The last one, is there a decimal? No, so start here after the number, 1, 2. So we have 3.0. Do I need to write 3.0? No, I can just write 3 whole. Okay, that concludes our notes on part 1 of fraction, decimal, and percent conversions. I hope you have a great day.